You ever get into your car on a bright sunny morning and you go to back out of your driveway, but the windshield is just covered in this impossible layer of pollen and dust?
Oh, absolutely. The morning glare hits it, and suddenly you're driving completely blind.
Right. The sun is shining, the world outside is perfectly fine, but your immediate reality is just this blinding, frustrating blur. You
Wow.
can't navigate. You feel tense.
And until you actually hit that wiper fluid, you're just stuck in the blur. I mean, you can't change the sun, so you have to clean the glass.
Exactly. And today we're looking at what happens when that blinding, frustrating grime isn't just on your car windshield, but on the invisible lens through which you view your entire life.
Yeah, that mental windshield.
Right. We're taking a deep dive into the hidden mechanics of mindset, using the insights from Jeff Keller's book, Attitude is Everything. We're going to unpack how success, resilience, and even just like basic daily happiness are not determined by luck or innate talent.
No, not at all.
They are strictly determined by this invisible filter. So, to all of you listening, we're going to prove that your reality is shaped by this filter and give you a toolkit to actually rewire it.
It's a really critical distinction to make, too, because we rarely treat attitude as a tangible mechanical skill.
Yeah.
Society tends to frame it as a fixed personality trait.
Like you're just born that way.
Exactly. Like you're either born a sunny optimist or a brooding pragmatist, and that's just your lot in life. But the reality, backed up by both lived experience and cognitive psychology, is that attitude is the fundamental building block of all human achievement.
It really is.
It's a muscle you systematically build, not some genetic lottery ticket you either win or lose.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because Jeff Keller, the guy whose journey forms the backbone of our deep dive today, he wasn't just sitting on a mountaintop theorizing about good vibes and positive energy.
Right. He lived it.
Yeah. This is a guy who hit absolute rock bottom, professionally and physically, and had to use these exact methods to overhaul his own reality.
And before we can get into the actual mechanics of rewiring your reality, we first have to understand how our perception of reality gets so distorted in the first place.
Right, the grime. Where does the grime come from? To see how that distortion works in real time, I want you, the listener, to picture a totally mundane scenario. You're sitting in a local coffee shop.
Okay.
In walks Sarah, and then a few minutes later, in walks Sam. They sit at different tables, they get the exact same waitress, they wait the exact same amount of time for their order.
The exact same?
Yep, they receive the exact same quality food, and they wait the exact same amount of time to get their check. Objectively, factually, their experiences are identical.
But subjectively, they are existing in two entirely different universes.
Exactly. Sarah walks in with a spring in her step. She has a pleasant, brief chat with the waitress, thoroughly enjoys her lunch, and goes back to her office, totally recharged.
And Sam?
Sam, meanwhile, comes in hunched over with a scowl on his face. He is instantly annoyed that the waitress didn't appear the second he sat down.
Oh, we all know with Sam.
Right, he is fuming about the 10-minute wait time. He chooses food like it's a chore. He leaves furious, ready to snap at the next person he sees. Same room, same service. Total opposite realities.
But Sarah and Sam didn't just consciously decide to have completely different days when they woke up. Sarah is looking at the cafe, the waitress, and her lunch through a completely clear mental lens.
Yeah, her window is clean.
Exactly. Sam is looking at the exact same data points through years of accumulated mental grime. That lens is what we can call the attitude window. And the fascinating part is that none of us are born with Sam's dirty window.
Wait, really? We all start out like Sarah.
We do. We all actually start our lives with a squeaky clean mental filter. I mean, think about a baby learning to walk.
Oh, yes. When a baby tries to take its first steps, stumbles, and falls flat on its face, it doesn't pout. It doesn't point a finger and blame the carpet.
Right.
It doesn't yell at its parents for giving it terrible walking instructions or just assume it's genetically bad at walking. It just smiles, gets back up, and tries again.
Precisely. That baby is looking through a completely clean window. It operates purely on possibility and resilience. But as we grow, life inevitably starts throwing dirt at that glass. And human biology actually works against us here.
How so?
Well, we have this evolutionary trait called the negativity bias.
Meaning our brains are basically Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones.
Exactly. Evolutionarily, remembering the time you almost got eaten by a lion was much more important for survival than, say, remembering a really nice sunset.
That makes sense. Survival over happiness.
Right. So when your parents criticize you as a kid, that's a smudge that sticks. When your peers ridicule you in middle school, that's a massive splatter on the window.
Middle school is a lot of splatters.
It really is. You face a brutal rejection at your first job interview. You get your heart broken. You experience lingering self-doubt. Your brain holds on to all of it to, quote unquote, protect you from future pain.
And suddenly, you are 30 years old, squinting through this thick, hardened mud of negativity, assuming the whole world is just a dark, hostile place out to get you.
Which is exactly where Jeff Keller found himself in 1985. He was 30 years old, working as a lawyer in New York.
And on paper, he was a success, right?
On paper, yeah. But instead of living the dream, he was completely burned out. He was physically manifesting his dirty window. I mean, he literally looked 40. He had a constantly churning stomach, severe headaches, sleep deprivation, and just physically felt the weight of the world hunched on his shoulders.
Wow.
He went to doctors and they just told him to take antacids. Physically, his organs were fine. Spiritually and mentally, though, he was completely dead in the water. His window was filthy.
Hold on, though. I mean, if we've been collecting this grime for 30 years and our biology actually forces us to hold on to it, aren't we just hardwired that way? You know, you can't just flip a switch and undo 3 decades of conditioning and negativity bias. So are we just doomed? Or can we get our squeegee back?
What's fascinating here is that hitting that absolute desperate rock bottom often acts as the catalyst that forces the cleaning process. Humans rarely change when things are just okay.
Right, because change is hard.
Exactly. We change when the pain of looking through the dirty window becomes significantly greater than the immense effort it takes to clean it. For Keller, that pain peaked one night in his den at like 1:00 a.m. He was exhausted, couldn't sleep, and was mindlessly channel surfing.
And he stumbled onto an infomercial.
Hmm.
But not just any infomercial. It was hosted by Florence Henderson,
Yep.
Mrs. Brady from the Brady Bunch.
Right, Mrs. Brady. She was endorsing a home study course called The Mental Bank, which focused on how our subconscious beliefs strictly dictate our outward achievement.
Okay.
Keller was so desperate, so physically tired of his own negativity, that he pulled out his credit card and bought it right there at 1 in the morning.
Wow.
And taking that one action, making that impulse purchase out of pure desperation, that was the moment he finally picked up the squeegee. It sparked his total life transformation.
But the crucial realization here isn't just that a dirty window makes you miserable, right? It's much more dangerous than that. A dirty mental window doesn't just block the light. It literally attracts more dirt. You become a human magnet for negative outcomes.
Yes. This is perhaps the most fundamental principle we are diving into today. There's a famous quote from the legendary broadcaster Earl Nightingale.
Oh, I love this one.
He distilled the entire secret of human success down to just 6 words. We become what we think about.
We become what we think about. I mean, it sounds so simple. It almost sounds like a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
But the mechanics behind it are incredibly unforgiving. This is known as the law of dominant thought.
Right. Your baseline mindset, your mental default, dictates your trajectory. And the word dominant is the operative word here.
Yeah, that's cute.
A fleeting 5-minute positive thought does absolutely nothing to change your reality if the underlying dominant current of your mind is constantly negative.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about trying to change your life with part-time positive thinking. It is exactly like trying to lose weight by eating a healthy, low-calorie bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, and then picking out on chocolate, cake, pizza, and ice cream for the remaining 15 hours of the day.
That's a great analogy.
You can't look at the scale at the end of the week and say, well, I don't get it. I ate my healthy oatmeal. The oatmeal doesn't matter if you're eating cake for 10 hours afterward. You're going to gain weight.
It's extreme cognitive dissonance. You just cannot override 16 waking hours of anxiety, fear, resentment, and self-doubt with 5 minutes of repeating a happy mantra in the mirror.
No, you definitely can't.
But to understand why we become what we think about, we have to look past the self-help cliche and look at the actual neuroscience. This isn't magic. It's a biological filter in your brain called the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
Okay, the RAS. Break that down for us. What does it actually do?
Your brain is constantly bombarded by millions of bits of information every single second. Sights, sounds, opportunities, risks. Your conscious mind can't possibly process all of it. You would go insane.
Right, too much data.
Exactly. So your RAS acts as the bouncer at the door of your consciousness. It filters out 99% of the world and only lets in the information that matches the instructions you've given it. And what are those instructions?
Your dominant thoughts. So you're saying the brain is essentially a heat-seeking missile, and our dominant thought is the exact coordinate we program into it.
Precisely. If your dominant thought is, I am terrible with money and investing is too risky, your RAS will literally block out a lucrative, safe real estate deal sitting right in front of you. You won't even perceive it.
Wow.
Instead, it will exclusively highlight news articles about market crashes or friends who went bankrupt. It proves you right.
Which completely explains Keller's breakthrough in real estate. Because throughout the early 1980s, Keller was watching people around him make an absolute killing in real estate on Long Island.
And he desperately wanted to invest.
He did. But he was paralyzed. His dominant thoughts were consumed by what could go wrong. Tenant nightmares, market crashes, losing his savings. His RAS was filtering out all the opportunities, so he did nothing.
Right. Until the summer of 1986, that's when he consciously decided to reprogram the coordinates. He shifted his dominant thought.
Okay.
He made a firm commitment to buy 2 investment properties before the end of the year. He relentlessly focused on the successful outcome. He actively refused to entertain the failure scenarios.
So his filter changed.
Yes, and because his biological filter changed, his behavior drastically changed. He spent his evenings and weekends researching and physically visiting 100 different homes.
100 homes, that is intense.
Yes, because thought must precede action. There's a huge misconception that this concept is about sitting on a couch, closing your eyes, and manifesting a house into existence.
Yeah, just wishing for it.
That's not how it works. Keller didn't magically manifest real estate. By changing his dominant thought, his RAS started highlighting the deals, the neighborhoods, and the opportunities he had previously been blind to. His mindset compelled him to take massive, sustained action.
And it worked?
It did. He bought his first property that fall, and the second one on December 29th, 2 days before his deadline. The Long Island real estate market didn't suddenly get easier in 1986. His mental filter did.
The thought is the fuel, but you still have to put the key in the ignition and drive the car.
Ah.
Okay, so if our dominant baseline thoughts dictate what our brain filters in and out of our reality, how do we systematically implant the right dominant thoughts? How do we step into the director's chair of our own minds?
You have to actively rewrite your mental movie. And the most powerful tool for this is visualization. Think about the psychology of elite performers.
Okay.
In an interview once, Celine Dion was asked if she was surprised by the sheer scale of her massive stadium tour success.
And what did she say?
She answered that no, none of it surprised her because she had been vividly picturing that exact scenario in her mind since she was 5 years old.
Wow. She'd been running that specific high-definition movie in her head for decades, conditioning her brain to seek out that reality. But let's be realistic. You're listening to this and you might be thinking, well, Celine Dion is a generational talent. I'm just an ordinary person managing a team or trying to pay off student loans.
Right, the stakes feel different.
Exactly. And people feel like, I don't have total control over the random anxieties that pop into my head.
It's a really common objection. But we can prove right now just how much control you actually have over your mental screen. Think about this scenario. It's 4:30 p.m. on a Friday. You get a text message from your boss, and it just says, we need to talk. What happens in your brain?
Oh, instant panic. My heart rate spikes, my stomach drops, and my brain instantly projects a full-length feature film of me getting fired, packing up my desk in a cardboard box, and having to explain to my family that I'm unemployed.
Exactly. In a fraction of a second, you projected a vivid, terrifying movie onto your mental screen, and your body reacted physically to a completely fictional scenario.
It really does.
Now imagine your boss follows up 10 seconds later with a second text. We need to talk about your promotion.
The movie completely changes. Instantly, I'm picturing a bigger paycheck, celebrating at dinner, feeling proud. The cardboard box movie just vanishes.
That is the proof. You have instantaneous control over your mental screen. The danger, however, is when we passively allow old, negative movies to run on an endless loop.
Like those childhood splatters we talked about.
Yes, let's go back to childhood. Say you were humiliated by a teacher when you gave a wrong answer in front of your class at 8 years old. If you don't consciously overwrite that movie, your subconscious treats it as a permanent truth.
Ouch.
So 30 years later, you're sitting in a corporate boardroom, you have a great idea, but you are utterly terrified to speak up. That 8-year-old's mental movie is still sitting in the director's chair running your adult behavior.
Wait, I need to jump in here. Because if I had a genuinely terrible experience, what if that teacher was deeply cruel and emotionally abusive? Or what if someone listening has been through severe real trauma.
It's a very fair point.
I can't just pretend it didn't happen to make my mental movie better. That crosses the line into toxic positivity.
Hmm.
It's basically delusional.
It's a vital distinction to make, and cognitive psychology provides a very robust framework to handle exactly that.
Mhm.
You do not deny the event. You don't pretend the trauma didn't happen or invalidate your own pain. What you change is the meaning you assign to it.
So I'm not denying the facts of what happened. I'm just stripping away the emotional baggage I attached to it. Like separating the raw data from the narrative I built around it.
Precisely. When you were 8, the meaning you unconsciously assigned to the teacher humiliating you was, I am inherently stupid and my voice does not matter. That's the narrative you internalized. As an adult, you can look back at that exact same factual event and cognitively reframe the meaning to, that teacher was deeply flawed, unhappy, and took their own insecurities out on a defenseless child.
Wow.
Their reaction was a reflection of them, not a reflection of my intelligence. My opinions are incredibly valuable. You keep the historical event, but you completely strip it of its power to harm your present reality.
You change the meaning. You literally take the pen back. And there's perhaps no more profound or extreme example of this in human history than Dr. Viktor Frankl.
No, there really isn't. Dr. Frankl was a prominent psychiatrist who survived the unimaginable horrors of the Nazi death camps.
Yeah.
He was stripped of his identity, his life's work was destroyed, and he lost his father, his mother, his brother, and his wife to the camps and gas chambers. He faced starvation, freezing cold, and daily horrific brutality.
It's unimaginable.
And yet, observing human behavior in that literal hell on earth, he gathered the insights for his masterpiece, Man's Search for Meaning.
And the central thesis of that book is staggering. He realized that the captors could take his family, his clothes, his health, and his physical freedom, but they could not touch the last of the human freedoms.
Yes.
The one thing that can never be forcefully taken from a person is the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances.
Yeah.
He chose to find meaning in his suffering, to help his fellow prisoners, and to envision a future where he would lecture on the psychology of what he had survived.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is the ultimate, undeniable proof of our core premise. If Viktor Frankl could consciously choose his attitude and dictate his internal reality amidst the Holocaust, we have absolutely zero excuse for letting an annoying commute, a rude email, or a past embarrassment dictate our daily reality.
That puts it in perspective.
It really does. You are the director. You have to call action on a new script.
Okay, the gravity of that is incredible. We understand we have the power. But a movie doesn't get made just because you have a profound realization. You need the daily, mechanical, unglamorous steps to ensure this new script actually gets produced.
Right, the day-to-day work.
Exactly. What are the tangible tools for the listener to start doing this mechanically today?
Well, it requires a highly specific regimen to build new neural pathways. First, let's look at how you anchor that new dominant thought. The classic example is Jim Carrey.
Oh, the Czech story.
Yes. Long before he was a household name, back in 1990, Carrey was a broke, struggling, unknown comedian in Los Angeles. He drove his beat-up car up to Mulholland Drive, looked out over the city, and wrote a physical check to himself for $10 million.
$10 million.
And in the memo line, he wrote for acting services rendered, and he post-dated it to Thanksgiving 1995.
And he carried it in his wallet. He looked at it constantly. He didn't just have a vague, fluffy wish like, oh, I hope I'm successful. He created a tangible visual anchor that gave his RAS a hyper-specific set of coordinates.
Exactly.
And by the end of 1994, he was paid $7 million for Dumb and Dumber. And he was well over the $10 million mark by that 1995 deadline. He gave his dominant thought a physical form that he interacted with daily.
He did. And to replicate that neurological conditioning, you need a daily repetition regimen. Step 1 is controlling your inputs. You should be reading positive, constructive literature for 15 to 30 minutes every single morning.
Before checking your phone.
Yes, exactly. It sets the baseline tone before the world has a chance to throw dirt on your window.
And step 2 is auditory. Listen to motivational or educational audio programs daily. Put them on while you're commuting, walking the dog, or doing the dishes.
You have to actively drown out the negative noise of the world. It's the diet analogy again. You can't feed your brain mental junk food all day and expect it to output brilliant, resilient thoughts.
So true.
And finally, when you are practicing your visualization, it is absolutely vital that you engage all of your senses. Don't just hold a fuzzy, static picture in your mind. The brain doesn't respond strongly to vague concepts.
Right. If your goal is to own a beach house, Don't just picture a generic house on Zillow. Picture a specific peach-colored house. Hear the sound of the ocean waves crashing against the wooden pylons.
Yes, immerse yourself in it.
Smell the salt air when you open the window. Physically feel the coarse warmth of the sand between your toes and the heat of the sun hitting the back of your neck. The more sensory details you pack into the mental movie, the deeper the neural pathways become, and the stronger the magnetic pull of your RAS becomes.
That's exactly how it works.
So what does this all mean? If I write a check for $1 million
Mhm.
and I vividly smell the salt air of my imaginary peach-colored beach house every morning for a month, does a briefcase full of cash just magically appear on my doorstep next Tuesday?
This raises an important question because the whole concept of manifestation has been wildly distorted by social media.
Yeah, it really has.
This is not magic. Positive thinking does not equate to overnight, effortless success, and it certainly does not guarantee a life without severe problems.
You're still going to get flat tires. Deals are still going to fall through. You're still going to face rejection.
Precisely. What this daily mindset shift does is cultivate the immense endurance, patience, and resilience required to navigate those inevitable setbacks. When you have a crystal clear, deeply entrenched, positive dominant thought, a massive roadblock doesn't break you.
Right, it's just a detour.
The negative thinker hits a wall and says, "See, I knew it wouldn't work. The world is out to get me." And they quit. The positive thinker hits the exact same wall, views it as a temporary puzzle, pivots, and keeps moving toward the peach-colored house.
Negative thinking ensures failure because it stops action. Positive thinking provides the biological and psychological endurance to sustain action until you produce positive results.
It's the fuel that keeps the engine running when the terrain gets brutal.
We've covered some massive territory today. We started by looking at that layer of grime, the negativity bias, the past rejections, the criticism that accumulates on our mental windows. We learned that we can either let that dirt permanently blind us, or we can use our lowest moments as the catalyst to grab the squeegee.
And we examine the biology of the reticular activating system, seeing exactly how our dominant baseline thoughts act as a human magnet, quite literally filtering in the circumstances and opportunities that align with our deepest beliefs.
And most importantly, we learned how to step into the director's chair. Whether it's separating the emotional narrative from a past trauma, engaging all 5 senses to rewire your neural pathways, or carrying a physical anchor in your wallet, the mechanics are completely in your hands. Nobody else can clean your window for you.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to pivot and leave you with a different angle to consider. We spend so much time analyzing how to clean our own windows, but think about the people you interact with daily.
Okay.
Your kids, your coworkers, your partner, the barista at the coffee shop. If your life right now is the perfectly manifested result of the dominant thoughts you held 5 years ago, what future are your current thoughts building for you right this second? And when you speak to others tomorrow, consider the profound impact of your words. Are you throwing dirt on their window, or are you handing them a squeegee?
Oh, that is a brilliant paradigm shift. Are you adding to the grime or helping them clear the glass? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, the sun is shining outside. Go hit the wiper fluid, clear off that glass, and enjoy the view. Keep your windows clean, everyone. We'll catch you next time.